Right, hello everybody, and welcome to the first video for this channel. My name's Ed. I'm going to be running this channel. I wanted to start a YouTube channel for a long time, and I love the hobby of Games Workshop, Warhammer 40,000. Been playing it for about 27 years probably, and since I was very young. I've always really enjoyed it. I've always gone back to it. And I've wanted to start a channel for a long time. I've been watching some other channels and really enjoying their content, and I've just sort of never got round to it. I'm sure you can all sympathise with things in your life. You're just so busy, you've never got round to it. And but I finally got round to it. I saw 8th edition coming out, and I thought this is the perfect opportunity to do this. Start the YouTube channel with the Dark Imperium unboxing, which I have in front of me, as you can see. So what we're going to do in this video is just have a quick look through Dark Imperium. I'm going to do a proper review video for some of the contents, like the rule book and the Primaris Space Marines and the Death Guard rules as well. This is sort of like a sort of brief live opening and just sort of initial impressions of what's inside. I've got a few other purchases I'm going to go through as well, and I'm also going to show you a little bit about the armies I have already, and what I'm going to be doing in the future and what to expect coming up. So first things first, I'm going to unbox Dark Imperium. So this is the cellophane coming off, so it's brand new. I've not looked inside, I've not opened it, I've not even watched anyone else's review videos, just because I wanted to open it myself, make my own mind up about it, and go from there. So we'll get rid of that. Some really cool artwork on the front. The Primus Marines I think look awesome. I will say it took a brief time for me to warm to them. When I first sort of heard the idea of the Primus Marines, I was slightly sceptical. I felt bad for the old Marines. I nearly didn't collect a Primaris army. I nearly collected a standard Marine army, just to almost rebel against it and be like, but what about the old Marines that have been holding the Imperium together for 10,000 years? But I love the way the Primaris Marines work, the way they look. They're kind of like the legions of old in some ways. I love their bolt rifles, just even their basic weapon looks so cool. The proportions are so brilliant, and so I really wanted to get stuck into them. So we've got really cool Death Guard on this side as well. Very tempting to collect them as well. So loads of cool stuff in the box. Let's just slide the cover off. We've got this artwork here, which is really cool. The kind of two sides of the galaxy. You've got the Loyal Space Marine, clean cut apart from some battle damage, eagles, laurels, very clean and streamlined, I suppose. And then this side you've got the Death Guard, the rotted side with the horn growths and the mould and rot. It's a really good symbolism for the two sides of the conflict, so I really love that artwork, I have to say. So you lift this out, and this is actually containing the sprues, this box. So we'll open this up and have a bit of a look at the sprues inside. So there's many of them, as I'm sure you can tell from all the models you've seen. Is that everything? I think we've got everything. So loads of sprues here straight away. We've got Primaris Marines, looks like their captain sprue, a sprue for the Assault Marines, or the new variant of Assault Marines with the heavy bolters. Effectively they're basically carrying two heavy bolters with really cool bullet shields on them. I think they look really awesome. Love the new flying stands. And you've also got the plasma gun for the basically special weapons squad that the old legions used to have. As I said, it is sort of like the old legions have returned to an extent, just bigger and badder almost. Again, same again. We've got the boots for the jump marines with the supports in them, so they can land properly, not hurt themselves, which would be preferable. You can see the jump pack actually here on the end. It's really cool because it's a big chunkier jump pack than the standard one, but also it's got like air brakes which you can really imagine them needing. These guys drop from orbit. I've read some of the background, which I will go through as well. And these guys jump with these from orbit. It's not necessarily a low flying Thunderhawk like current assault marines, so they really need those kind of air brakes. So we've got a Death Guard sprue here. Very, very cool. The detail on the models nowadays is absolutely ridiculous. I started in, late second. I got the second edition box set, but that's all I got before third started, more or less. And look at the models then and now, and you think, oh, you know, it's been 20 years, but 20 years isn't actually that long when you think of how far some things have come. The models have come on so much. You can see a bit of detail there. Hopefully I can show you a good amount. This is my first video, so if, like I say, if some of it's a bit out of sync or I don't give you the best shot of something, I do apologise. I will try and get better at it. But you can see the Lord here, his cloak with all the chainmail, which makes him look kind of... The cool thing about the chainmail is it makes him look kind of older, just by association, because we associate chainmail with old warfare historically. So it kind of does that job of these are the guys from 10,000 years ago quite nicely for them. You've got bits for the drone here, the turbine, bits like that. It's really cool. So that's them. Bit of bubble wrap. We've got a sprue for some of the Nurgle Marines. Up here we've got a bell, obviously chiming out Nurgle's favours as they tend to do. Got some really cool heads. Again, not how well you can necessarily see this, but you've got this guy with the veil, and then you've got this guy with kind of like a warped knightly helmet with vents in it, letting out the plagues. I'm sure that they are spreading very happily everywhere. Some really cool stuff actually as well to highlight this backpack here. That has this bell above it. There's like a horn tree growth coming out and then a bell on the top. That's really cool. So these are kind of like, these are some of the new models that are almost kind of a mix between cultists and plague bearers and plague zombies. They're kind of, you know, a bit of everything, but they do look really cool. Got one just sort of there. Like I say, they look a bit tougher and more nurgly than certainly a cultist, but even really a plague zombie. But they're not a plague. They're not a plague bearer, so they're sort of a mix of all of them. But they're really cool. You can imagine them as some sort of shambolic horde. And finally, we've got another box of the Primus Marines. We've got the banner here for them, which is really cool. It's a little ultramarine, but not so much that you couldn't use it for any chapter. So that's pretty cool. And actually, this is quite a good shot of how big the bolt rifle is. You've got a bolt rifle here, and then you've got a Marine's Primaris body there. That's pretty much the height of a Primaris, and that's how big the bolt rifle is, which is really cool. Gives you a good perspective of how massive that is. So pop those sprues there. So we've got the new rulebook here as well, hardback, which is really cool that Games Workshop provided hardback in the box set. Obviously normally you got a softback version that was a little condensed and obviously wasn't as hard wearing, things like that. This is really awesome. I love the iconography again on the front. You've got obviously the Warhammer like we always do, but then you've got the eagle, and it's a two-headed eagle as well, fighting like a serpent, obviously harking back to religion and history and myth in our own world, but obviously working out very well for the 41st millennium as well. Here's those new flying stands actually. I really wanted to highlight these because I think these are absolutely awesome. They're very sturdy, and they're clear, so again, that you know they blend in really well. But the main reason why I love these is that number one, they've got a proper stand on the bottom, a little plastic round stand at the bottom, so it will keep them sturdy, it'll keep them reliable. But actually, also, I love the fact that these go into the back of those assault marines, so that you can barely see them. They're clear, and the marine pretty much covers the whole thing. You can barely see them, and I think that's really cool that it really brings the marines to life, having these jump packs on them that you can barely see. Got a few other little things. Got bases in there. Obviously, got the transfer sheet. They only include Ultramarines, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves. I'm a little disappointed, which actually reveals a little bit about what chapter I'm collecting, because they're not on there, but I'll leave you guessing for a little while. But there is loads of stuff on there you can use no matter what chapter you are, really. There's lots of numerals, standard codex, iconography, like the tactical symbol, the devastator symbol, things like that. So it's skull and crossbones, so there's lots of stuff you can use there, even if you don't happen to collect those particular chapters. You also got a cool range ruler, see-through. No longer the red wacky sticks that everyone just hits each other with, because they weren't very good, really. So that's what people pretty much use them for. So that's really cool, nice and flexible, hard wearing. Got some cool looking dice, not just black. They've got a bit of colour to them, so but pretty basic, but they're pretty cool. I'm sure we've all got a billion dice by now. Got all the bases as well, again, sort of standard stuff there. Okay. So I'm going to have a quick look at the books as well. Now these are things I will be doing a longer, proper, in-depth review of, but just wanted to get them in here with this. So this is the core rule booklet. This is what's available online. You can just download it, so you don't have to get the box set just to get the core rules if you don't want to. You can just download this and start playing 8th edition, which is really cool. It also shows, I think they've done brilliantly to copy Age of Sigmar. It's a game I haven't really got into yet, just because of time, really. I really like the look of Age of Sigmar. I've actually got some Stormcast as well that I'm painting up. It's just, like I say, it's just time, really. And I've loved Warhammer 40,000, and so I've always kind of kept to that. But I love the fact they kept the rules simple. Nice, simple rules, but they create in-depth tactical decisions. So the game remains tactical and remains a challenge, but it's also streamlined, smooth, fun, and doesn't take as long. So I think that's really awesome. We've then got the, basically it's like a building guide, show guide of, as you can see, it's just showing you how to put all the different bits together for all the Marines, Chaos, etc. And again, you can kind of see what I mean here about the Assault Marines. If you look at this guy here, there you can see a decent amount of stem, but not even that much. When you think he's face on, you can see about half of that even, so you can basically see this tiny bit at the bottom, and that's it. And even that's clear. So just to highlight that again. So basically this is just a quick building guide, transfer guide. It has a little bit of a painting guide as well, for again kind of the main chapters if you like, although again not one of the ones I'm collecting, so that's always handy. You've then got Death Guard and Primaris Space Marine sort of mini indexes, really. I'm sure a lot of you might have seen the indexes that they brought out to sort of hold the line, sort of almost, if you like, until the codexes come out. They have confirmed there will be codexes, so it is a matter of time, but it could be 6 months, it could be a year and a half, so we don't know quite where we are at the moment. So this is the Primus Space Marine one. Cool picture of a Primus Space Marine from the Ultramarines on the front. As you flick in, there is some cool stuff. There's some background in here, just about the Angels of Death, Captains, Ancients, which I think is a really cool name for banner bearers or really high respected veterans. I just think that's a really cool name. You've also got Primaris Lieutenants and Intercessor Squads. So the Primaris Lieutenants are things like second in commands, masters of the Vox, things like that. Sort of the lieutenants of the main commander. And you've got Intercessor Squads, which are sort of the tactical Marines of the Primaris. Bolt rifles, maybe the odd special weapon, things like that, but they're mainly the troops of the line. So then we go on to Inceptor Squads and Howlblaster Squads. So the Inceptor Squads are the Assault Marines with their effectively twin heavy bolters, which is insanely cool. So they've got real manoeuvrability, real firepower, especially as anything can hurt anything now. You've got to remember a lot of vehicles are toughness 7, and if these heavy bolters are strength 5, or something like that, you know, you hurt them on 5, sure, but you're forcing wounds on vehicles for something that really shouldn't be shooting at vehicles in a lot of ways. So these guys are pretty multitask, they're fast, they're really cool models, Their only weakness probably is combat, but one, they're still Primaris Marines, so they're not going to be terrible. And secondly, it's your fault if they're in combat because they're pretty manoeuvrable, so you shouldn't really be having a problem with getting into combat if you don't want to. You've got Hellblaster squads. So Hellblaster squads are the plasma gun squads. Really awesome to see Space Marine special weapon squads. It's something that I really love about the heresy, that you have Scrooge Space Marines just walking around with one type of gun just to go and deal with that one threat. This is what I need you to go and do it. So they're really cool. So a little background on Ultramar, Ultramarines, but it does give you background on the Primaris as well. So it's not just that history of the Ultramarines we've all heard many times, not in a bad way. I love background. I think the Ultramarines are underrated. I think they get a hard time because they're the poster boys. But for me, they're effectively Romans in space, and that makes them awesome. So, but there is additional background about the Primaris. You've got here in the bottom right the different helmet types for sergeants, veterans, and lieutenants. So that's really cool. So you can copy that, or you could do your own ones. For instance, 2 of them are red, and if you're doing a red armoured army, obviously they'd blend in. So you can change the colouring there. You've got a Defenders of Humanity section, which is really cool. So it's different chapters all painted up. So you've got Black Templars, Crimson Fists, Imperial Fists, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves. So you've got a good idea of how they would do their helmets. So you see, actually they have changed some of the helmets. So the Blood Angels have got battle line red, but then they've got a yellow for close support, blue for fire support, and a Veteran Sergeant's gold. That's kind of standard for how the Blood Angels are now, but it just shows it works with the Primaris as well. So it's really cool. You also got the Raven Guard, the Salamanders, who I do collect for heresy. They are an army I have started anyway. It's taking a while. I really want to do a good job of them, so they're taking a long time. I don't get to Forge World much either, unfortunately. But Salamanders, White Scars. You've then got some of the new ones. So the Fulminators are an Ultramarine successor and look really cool. That like darker blue and that white shoulder pad I think looks really, really nice. You've got the Blades of Vengeance, which are a Dark Angels successor, and you've got the Storm Reapers as well, who are a White Scars successor. I'm really interested as well with the Primaris, again just a bit of background on how they're going to blend in with some of the chapters. So the ones that go to the Black Templars, are they already going to be fanatical and zealots, or are they going to rock up and kind of go, whoa, these guys are a bit crazy, what's going on here? And then slowly get indoctrinated into it over time. Same like the Dark Angels, obviously we all know they have secrets. Whether you think they're a loyalist or a traitor is irrelevant. They've got secrets. How do they induct them? Is the first Primaris captain going to rock up and go, right, so we've got a lot to tell you, sit yourself down, grab a coffee, we've got to go through this? Or are they going to pretty much keep the Primaris out of the loop until they really have to? So that's, really interesting to see what happens there. So we've got a bit of a painting gallery for the Sons of Guilliman. Different Primaris Marines. So this is where we come to the rules. So this is the rules for the new Primaris. So they have a They Shall Know No Fear, which is now reroll morale checks. Obviously in the old rules that would have been pretty rubbish. Everyone was Legion 9 or 10, there was barely any modifiers. But now the way it works with morale, meaning you lose men, you don't just run away or retreat a little bit. You lose men as you go. Morale's really important now, so being able to reroll morale checks for your entire army is a fantastic rule compared to what it would have been. So look at this next rule. So it's just talking about how you replace keywords with the chapter you use. So all White Scars do thus, if you're collecting White Scars, etc. So for instance, if you were to include a captain in Gravis armour in your army, and you decided who's from the Blood Ravens chapter, his chapter faction keyword would be Blood Ravens, etc. It's probably to stop intermingling of special characters. So you could, I suppose technically you could, but it wouldn't help if you had Vulcan Heston in a Imperial Fist army anymore, because it would say in his entry, friendly units of the Salamanders chapter. So it's based around them. So you have a captain in Gravis armour. So this is him here. So he has a movement of 5, weapon skill skill of 2+, which is pretty standard for a good hero now. Strength 4, toughness 5, 6 wounds, which is pretty sturdy. 5 attacks, leadership 9, +3/+save. It's a single model. He has a power value of 8. So he comes with a mastercrafted power sword and a bolt storm gauntlet. He's also equipped with an iron halo, so he obviously gets that 4+ invuln, which is good. He also gets rites of battle, which is a cool rule for the Space Marine captains. You can reroll all hit rolls of one made for friendly insert chapter units that are within 6 inches of the captain. So if you think about it, that's his unit. Well, again, they're not in units anymore, but the unit he's hanging with, and you can potentially get 2 units either side. You haven't got to be afraid of blasts anymore, so that could really affect 3 units at once, which is really awesome. So that's, you know, those kind of area effect powers are a lot better than they used to be. The Bolt Storm Gauntlet ranged is 12 inches, pistol 3, strength 4, AP dash, damage 1. It's not going to do a lot, but hey, every extra shot counts, especially nowadays when that could potentially be the final shot to kill a knight. Emily, it's ×2 strength, so you'll become strength 8, AP -3, damage D3. And if a model is making close combat attack with the Bolt Storm Gauntlet, you must subtract 1 from the hit roll. So you're still hitting on 3, so it's a good effective weapon. He's also got the Mastercrafted Power Sword, which is strength user, but it's -3 and damage 2. So it's pretty solid. He's a pretty solid choice. He's pretty standard. He's like a Space Marine captain, but he is a solid choice, especially with the rites of battle. This edition looks like it's going to be all about function and symmetry and units working together and affecting each other's rules. So I think it's a pretty good start. You've got the Primaris Lieutenants, which are power 4. You've got the Primaris Ancient, which is power 4. So there are a couple of extra heroes. As I said, I'm not going to go through all of this in depth now. This is more of a skimming review. I just wanted to go through one profile with you, and the rest of it's going to be quite, like I say, quite skimmed. So you've got the Primaris Lieutenant, who's got like a slightly weaker stat line, but it's still pretty good. And the one thing I would probably bring up for him, although like I said I'll go through it in more detail later, is you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for friendly units within 6 inches. So you can reroll hits and wounds if you have him and the Primaris, what's he called? It's the captain, Primaris captain. So 3 units could reroll 1 to hit and 1 to wound. And a lot of them are going to be hitting on 3s and maybe even wounding on 3s. So they're pretty handy. You've got the Primaris Ancient, who's the man who carries the banner. Kind of, I suppose, almost second in command or third in command of the army's morale after the chaplain and the captain. Seen as a bit of a hero. So the Adeptus Astartes banner, units within 6 inches of a friendly ancient gain +1 to their leadership. So that's pretty awesome. Again, in the old rules, rubbish, but in this rule set, brilliant. You get +1 leadership. It's really cool. So then you've got Intercessor squads, Inceptor squads, and Howblaster squads. So you've got troops, fast attack, heavy support. The Howblaster squad is the unit with plasma guns, the Intercessors are the tactical marines, and the Inceptors are the assault marines. And then you've just got a points appendix at the end, ranged weapons, melee weapons, and the units themselves. So just to give you a quick idea, a captain in Gravis armor is 98 points. Now obviously you've got to give him his weapons, but he's still not going to go way over 100, so he's pretty good value. And for instance, an Intercessor squad is 24 points per model. Now they come, I think, with what they've got, yeah, because they're bolt rifles free. But it just shows that the Primaris are going to stack up points-wise pretty quick when you're looking at over 100 points for 5 Space Marines. So that's the Primaris Space Marines book. Just have a quick look at the Death Guard book. Again, awesome cover, really good art with the weird squirmy thing coming out of his mouth. I don't know whether that's meant to be his tongue and it's gone really weird, or whether that's just a random tentacle, but each their own, I suppose. Got the really cool exposure.